Good morning and welcome to the first Monday of July and to our courageous conversations. Uh, Glad to be here with Becky and to go to the letter O in courage because we've been on C for a long time because there's so many amazing C words.
Well, I think we did open.
We did open. I think we talked about open-hearted
Yes.
and open-minded
Yep.
last time. So I thought today we would talk about outcomes.
Mm.
I think that's a an interesting concept and one that in Fearless Living, which is my training and coaching, is that we encourage people to detach from
Mm.
outcomes. And why would we encourage people to detach from outcomes in order to live in freedom? I'll just kind of put that question out there and see what comes up as we talk about outcomes. What is, like what is it? How does it fit into our strategies, our daily, our alignment, our daily goals? When we set a goal, we have a perceived outcome, but why is it important to detach from that outcome? What do you think, Beck?
Yeah. I'm thinking about the visual of like letting something breathe, and if we hold something too tightly, then it suffocates, right? So letting it detach and let go of, our rigid idea of how it needs to be. Um, is more freeing, right? It gives space to the flow of what's going to happen one way or another, and detaching from it, I think just um, it's good to have an idea, like you said, right? We have an idea of what we want to happen, and we can make a plan. And I am someone that I like strategy. I want to have a strategy. I want to have a plan of some kind. And over the last couple of years, I've really been leaning into that, letting go and detaching. I like that word detaching too. It kind of makes me think about a balloon, like being released from your hand and going,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I don't want to go too far.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think combining the synonym of release and detach. I think that's I love that. When I looked up in the dictionary what outcome means, it's like a consequence
Mm.
or a way a thing turns out. So if you detach yourself from the consequence or the way the things turn out, um, then it doesn't mean that it's like you're kind of in that risk zone or that stretch zone where you're not, you're just doing something you maybe haven't been doing or something you've never done. So you're not sure of what the outcome will be. I'm just thinking of in your business, so you're in your business, you're going to take a new step, something you've never done before. You hope it's going to increase your bottom line, that it will be financially successful for you, because that's why we're in business. You hope that it will serve your clients, but you don't know. You don't know. And if you go in with that kind of a passion, that kind of a purpose, that kind of why, then you're on a path that it will eventually end up with an outcome, but you're not tied to it being something specific. I think, that's kind of a way of looking at it as well. But it's when the word consequence is another interesting word. That's a C word I don't think I have in my book yet. Consequence. I don't know. Sometimes to me, that word has a negative
Hmm.
connotation. I don't think it needs to. It's just what happens. But a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, if you make that choice, that's going to be um, a disempowering consequence, or that could be, so I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely like the word outcome better than consequence because I
Hmm.
would relate that to a more of a negative
Hmm.
like side of outcomes. And when you were talking too, I was really thinking about my own experience, where I'm at right now and where I'm bringing courage to the table in my business and doing things, something that is out of my um comfort zone, which is something that's new, is that I booked my first location, or I booked the location for my first retreat, which is exactly what I was thinking about for, as you were talking about, okay, we can plan, we can, decide what we're doing and make a strategy. And where I'm at is like, okay, but I do know it will be successful. It's just, yeah, a matter of, is it going to be successful in the exact way that I plan it to be?
Right, right. Yeah.
Likely not. But the outcome is still going to be successful because I've already decided I know it will be.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Mm-hmm.
it turns out, because I'm going to choose to make sure that I'm adjusting my expectations or my intentions and all of the things along the way. But, that idea of I have an I have an attachment to a certain outcome that I'm working on making sure I don't hold too tight, because it also stops, the opportunity of it looking different and quite possibly better, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we give our um give it
Well,
too,
congratulations on doing that. I
yeah.
know that it takes a lot of courage. Of course, you're not coming to California, so that isn't
It's in
gonna.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
This first one, I'm like, we're gonna do it in the home state for the first one
Well,
and build
yeah.
from
I mean
there.
that. Yeah. There's another little definition that I had on researching out the meaning of outcomes, and it's I like this one because it says the result or effect of an action,
Mm,
situation, or event. It's too early to predict the outcome, but it is one of the possible results in a probability. So that just opens it up to options, probability, that there's multiple outcomes, just like you said. And when your mindset is that the outcome is going to be what the outcome is, and it's going to be positive, and I'm going to learn, and so you're going into it not attached to a specific outcome, like I'm going to have 20 people at my retreat, but that I'm going to serve people with this content and people that, will be there. And because we're in the middle of, trying to fill our retreat as well. And it's just like when I say my prayers, I just say, please have the people that this will help them, live in freedom, to be for me to have the courage to reach out,
mm,
and bring those people to this experience that will also be financially beneficial to us. It's a business. But yeah, I was thinking this morning that just the strategies that people will walk away with, the understandings they'll walk away with, the friendships they'll walk away with, that's my desired outcome, is
mhm.
that it will reach people and change them, no matter how many people are there, no matter what the weather is, no matter, all the things I have no control of, right? And just really focus on being courageous and putting it out there so people even know about it, and they can make the decision. So I was
Yeah.
thinking
I like
I
the word
read that.
effect. You said
Mhm,
that in that
mhm.
definition, in the way that it
Yeah.
affects. And right, we know that there is a cause and effect to everything. So
Mhm.
when we're thinking about outcomes,
Yeah.
like you said,
Yeah.
people don't know it's there. They can't have an opportunity to
Right. Right.
say yes to something or engage in it. Um,
Well, and I like the fact when it said effect, it was like the effect of an action,
mhm,
effect of a situation, or the effect of an event, So for me, it's actually the effect of my actions.
mhm.
And we know that, I mean, for myself, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, that's where courage comes in. And it's doing it, even when you're afraid to do it. It's just that action, the effect of taking that action, because not taking the action, there's no option. There's no possible
To
result.
know.
You know? So yeah, I like that definition as well, because there's a lot of them, but I think that takes it away from the word consequences because again, that to me that's a negative word. Now it may not be to everybody, but
Mhm.
it kind of is to me. So I was looking at more things, but I like that one in particular.
Yeah, I
Um,
think consequence could also be, like I said, cause and effect, looking at it that way. It's
yeah,
just
it
the
can be.
consequence is something is going to happen if this thing is moved, something else, happens. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like if we say yes to one thing, we say no to another,
yeah.
and vice versa.
It's just like, changing words to words that fit your mindset and your understanding. Consequence is a word that, can be multiple meanings to multiple people. And so we've just kind of substituted some other things for that particular word. But it means what happens, what's the result, what's the effect of the action. So it says other things it says is that it's a distinct result of the experiment. So, and experiment can mean a lot of things too. The result of the action that you took, something new. You haven't tried it before, so you're discovering. I think the experiment to me kind of denotes a discovery. And so that's another thing that the outcome can be a discovery of so many new things that whether it's a new mindset, whether it's a new strategy, whether it's a new way of speaking to people, a way of communicating, that also can be a part of our definition of our thoughts around the word outcome. But
Yeah,
anyway, it's just interesting. Interesting.
I,
I love looking up this stuff.
I think that that reminds me of explore, like to be
Hmm. Hmm.
in a state of exploration, especially when we're looking at outcomes, right? So this gives us an opportunity to look at new perspectives that are possible for that outcome, right?
Hmm.
And that's where what's coming to me is that's where um in the past that's kind of more like where I've been able to detach is looking at, well, there's other possibilities, right? There's ways to explore, well, how could this look different and still be successful, right?
Yeah.
um, so that the discovery piece brings up just like being open to that exploration and the opportunity that lies in how it could look different than we originally think and still be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Some other words that came up when I looked at what's another word for a good outcome. It has accomplishment,
Mm,
attain, and fulfill are other and synonyms that can be used, depending on the content of the activity. But, accomplish. I like that word, accomplishment. That's a good word that I like. I feel like it can be, this was an accomplishment because I took the courage and I finished it. And, that the outcome was that I grew in my understanding, I grew in my capacity to communicate, whatever it is. So I accomplished something, uh, or I attained it, or I fulfilled my goal. And which isn't fulfillment isn't tied to a specific outcome either. So attainment, fulfillment, accomplishment, those aren't tied to a specific outcome. They're a feeling, right?
mm,
That you're able to do this. And so I know when I share that concept with my clients, there's oftentimes resistance to the idea that you detach yourself from outcomes because I think in our society, a lot of our value or even our own value is dependent on the outcome. And if
mm,
the outcome isn't what we in our mind thought it should be, or we were attached to it strongly, emotionally, intellectually, uh, then again, we do beat ourselves up over that. And yet it just doesn't I don't think it's intended when we talk about that in coaching, it's intended for them to let go. Let go of that attachment, be open-hearted, open-minded to possibilities. And then, talking people through that. But that's still a stickler for some people. Some people I've coached, just we call it something else because it just doesn't, that language doesn't work for them, you know? And that's part of being a coach, knowing when to allow your client to make it meaningful to them in their words. But it's oftentimes a very resistant um, concept.
Well, yeah, we as a society, I think that a lot of people are looking for that control factor, you
Hmm.
know. So
Hmm.
relinquishing that, letting that go, it also goes back to control and um staying with the first thought, versus being creative. In the community, we're talking about creative flow, and that's really about being open to those opportunities that they may look different than they did
Yeah,
before, but being
yeah, yeah,
creative in the way that we're thinking about something. And then I love this, tying this in with the outcomes and making sure that, um, yeah, we're letting go, being willing to let go of that control so that it can flow.
yeah, yeah. Because when we become, because I'm thinking of the feelings that really block us from moving forward come when
Mhm,
we attach ourselves to an outcome, then we become disappointed. We become overwhelmed. You know, when you start to look down the list, the feelings list of self-destructive or not self-destructive, but feelings that don't empower us,
mhm,
feelings that I guess some people and some feelings lists they're called negative or positive feelings, but I mean feelings are just feelings. But those feelings that stop us and disappointment, I think, is one of the that can put us into depression. You know, I mean, if you really are so attached to something and it doesn't come out that way, you can become so disappointed that it stops.
mhm,
It just stops you from having courage to go on, stops you from getting over that. They say people get right up to the point where the next step, the success would occur, right? And they stop just before that breakthrough can occur because oftentimes the courage to keep going is what gets us to that point where we can break through the wall of fear, the wall of discouragement, the wall of disappointment, and move into that landscape of of success, of which may not have come out the way that we thought it would. So I think that that's another way when people resist that concept, it is internalized through society, through education, through, um, making plans and having knowing living the plan step by step and not being open-hearted or open-minded, which is what we talked about last month. So yeah, I think it's I get ready for it when I introduce it to my clients. I get ready for the resistance and just am ready with lots of questions, about, well, how do you feel? How does that make you, move forward, et cetera, et cetera, as you move past that expectation, because that's what it is. Being attached to an outcome is an expectation.
mhm.
And we know how expectations work. I mean,
Yeah,
all of our listeners may or may not know, but expectations are the opposite of intentions, and they bring us to a place of self destruction and disappointment, anger, all of those feelings of when we think something should be a certain way and it's not.
yeah. Low
We miss
energy
it. We
feelings.
miss it. We miss the whole opportunity, right?
Yeah, I love that, Terry. I literally just this morning recorded a podcast episode about that block, that self-doubt, um, that stops our self-expression, and that
Mhm.
flow of breaking through, like you were just saying. I just had this conversation on the podcast this morning, so this is perfect.
Wow.
Perfect alignment.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I know that in my journey with the fearless living concepts, when I understood the disempowering effect of expectations, that changed my life. I mean, just like that, because I was aware. Not that I quit having expectations just like that, but I was aware what they were doing to me, and I was able to practice changing those expectations into intentions, and that changed my life. Absolutely changed my life.
Yeah, recognizing it and becoming more aware of what they look like, what they sound like. what they feel like.
Yeah, yeah. And they really, when you couple expectations with being attached to an outcome, it's very much in the same wheelhouse there. I mean, we're talking about intentions are open-ended. Intentions are not tied to a specific outcome, they're tied to a process. I'm willing to practice. That's the
Mhm.
beginning of an intention. I am willing to practice. And that, in just that in itself, saying the word practice, gives me this, I have this physical reaction to the word. My shoulders drop down, I can breathe. It's amazing what changing those expectations from I have to, I should, I must, I need to, I can, I could, I can choose, I mean, just even now I go, when that visceral response to the difference between expectations and intentions, which really has a lot to do with releasing that attachment,
Mhm.
opening up, letting go. I just watched on the Disney Channel, they just put up the London Broadway uh, show of Frozen. And the Broadway show is a little bit different, than the movie. But it was just, I don't know, I think theater is so much more compelling than than movies. And when she sang Let It Go, it just had a different feel. And to me, it spoke to me of this very thing. Let it go. Let go what you don't control, embrace what you do control, and then live in that landscape of joy and peace. Because I often sing that song to myself.
Yeah, I love it. That's one of my daily affirmations is that I am capable.
Mhm.
I choose to let go of what I can't control and contribute to the things that I can.
Yeah, yeah. So that's certainly a part of detaching, detaching from a specific outcome. Yeah, so it all works together. That's what I love about our community and about my experiences in my life. Incorporating fearless living as in my internal compass of how I live my life, and that's detaching from outcomes is one of those things. And that's to me, that's not having expectations as well. Detaching from those expectations, which are attached to an outcome, right? So another little connection with the language and the strategies, because I know Beck went through our program and we talked a lot about expectations and intentions and how that's disempowering. Yeah,
Yeah. It's a
yeah,
powerful distinction when you realize how much or when you don't realize how much it's controlling, you
yeah,
know, how you feel about certain things
yeah.
and
And
that switch.
yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, once you eliminate that language of expectations from your thought processes, I mean, we're human, so it's going to come in. I mean, we're going to say,
Mhm.
I should do this. I need to do this instead of I choose to do this. I can do this. I want to do this. And just changing that in our language affects our ability to not, to detach from specificity when we think of outcomes and expectations. So it's a process. And I didn't even know we'd talk about that while we were talking about outcomes, but it's just a natural outcome of talking about detaching is
Mhm.
expectations and how they affect us and our ability to detach. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we can kind of start to wrap up about how this is a part of courage and how this can help us move forward as we choose to practice courage. My mouth isn't
Tongue
doing,
tied.
yeah, tongue tied this morning, but it's uh it's very, to me, it's very, I'm going to use the word empowering again because it's a choice to be courageous. And that choice allows us to be proactive
Mhm.
And to be proactive is by making choices that support us and keep us in freedom rather than fear. And so it's just a way of it's a way of living courageously is just this simple strategy of not detaching to outcome, of not attaching to, but detaching from outcomes, letting it go. What do you
Mhm.
control? What do you don't control? What do you choose? What can you do? What do you want? And that's where my um perfectionist mantra to break my perfectionism, because again, that I'm human and that is an addiction that I have that I work continually on detaching from. Is my mantra is I choose to do what I can when I can, the best I can. And that, again, I have a visceral experience, a reaction to that, because my shoulders were lower, my chest will loosen, I'll breathe, and I move forward, detached from perfection.
Mhm. Good stuff. Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, so that's the way I would kind of tie that up. I don't know how you would tie that up, but that's kind of the way I would tie it up.
Yeah, I would say that all of it works together, like you said. It's very in alignment with just understanding the true power that we have when we are willing to let go, when we're willing to see things, recognize it, be aware of it, and then also be okay and trust the process of what's meant to be will be kind of thing, right? And allowing universe, God, source to just, take it from there and kind of move along and be okay with the way that the outcome comes, because, we're going to do what we can, and then that's it,
Yeah,
then the rest
yeah,
has to occur. Everyone else has to do their part, so to say, right?
yeah, yeah. There's so many analogies, to this courage and not detaching to the outcome, like, coming to the precipice of a cliff, and do you take the next step? The door is closed. Do you open it? Just all of these thoughts of faith. I think faith has a lot to do with it too. Faith in ourselves, faith in our source, which is God for me, faith in our plan, uh, our earthly existence, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think courage and faith, to just detach and let it be. That's another great song by the Beatles. Let it be, let it be. It's another one.
Yep.
But yeah, music is something that really touches my soul. So a lot of
Hmm.
my thoughts, I can bring up a song about it because yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's great.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I appreciate you being here with me for this courageous conversation, and whomever might listen to the recording. Just remember that we're here in OPWP to support you, to be courageous, to take those steps out of your comfort zone, uh, those risks, that step into the unknown. And that's really how we grow. So my pleasure to be here with you for this I guess we're calling it a podcast, a semi-podcast, where we're experimenting,
We are
discovering,
experimenting.
yeah.
We're
I
detached from our outcomes
That's
here.
right. That's right. That's absolutely right. But I appreciate you so much. So thank you. And we'll sign off for this courageous conversation and finish up our courage hour.